Welcome everyone to the last panel session of the day. My name is Tina Tosukovong. I'll be one of your panelists today. And join me are two exceptional panelists from LG Ventures, Mr. Dong-Soo Kim, and also Mr. Naoki Kamimeda from the Global Brain Corporation. So we have a short 20-minute session, so I'm just going to get right into it. First of all, I'd like to introduce each of our panelists. I'm just going to starting with myself. My name is Tina Tosukovong. I'm the Senior Investment Director of GCV Ventures America. We are the corporate venture arms of PTT Global Chemicals, who is a flagship petrochemical and material company of PTT conglomerate headquartered in Thailand. Actually, within the PTT groups of company, we have 3 separate CVC units operating independently. We are the only one that has the office both at the corporate headquarters in Bangkok, Thailand, and also in the US. I am one of the founding member of the Boston team, and we invest starting from around mid-2018 in advanced materials, clean tech, biotech life science, and industrial digitals. And we have 2 teams. Our US team is focusing mainly for the North America region, while our Bangkok partner is focusing on the rest of the world. And super excited to be joining with me by Dong-Soo Kim. So Dong-Soo, would you please introduce yourself and your fund?
Sure. Yes, so I'm Dong-Soo Kim, CEO of LG Technology Ventures, which is, of course, the venture capital arm of LG Group. We manage fund assets all in excess of $400 million. Of course, all the funds do come from different LG companies. We invest mostly Series A, B, or later stage companies in very broad area of technology, including, of course, materials, devices, software, services, and you name it, almost most hot areas that most venture capitalists are investing these days. We are based in Silicon Valley, but we do invest worldwide.
Thank you. How about yourself, Naoki-san?
Again, my name is Naoki Kamimaeda. So I'm partner at Global Brain. So Global Brain is one of the largest VCs in Japan, actually headquartered in Tokyo, and also have offices in Seoul, Korea, Singapore, Jakarta, Indonesia, San Francisco, and London. So then I'm based in London and heading our Europe activities. So we manage actually 8 active funds right now and 7 corporate venture capital funds alongside our mothership pure investment fund. So we are also early stage focused, Series A, Series B mainly, and sometimes we do a post-seed. And we are focused on deep tech, fintech, and insurtech.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So it is quite interesting that Dong-Soo, you represent LG Venture that has the headquarters in Korea. So how do you get started? How do you convince the corporate mothership that it is the right move to set up the CVC fund in the US?
Yeah, so I was actually in a fortunate position that I was brought in to start the LG Tech Venture. So before I joined, LG used to invest out of the balance sheet of each companies. But from a very top level, they decided that a dedicated corporate venture capital team was needed to represent the entire LG Group. So I was recruited to come in and to start it and run it. So when I was setting it up, I really felt that in order to do the corporate venture capital right, you really have to be at the center of where the innovation is. So naturally, Silicon Valley was a good place to have the headquarters of the ventures unit. But you know, as we we again, I mean, started here. The team is here, but we've started investing also in other geographies, including Israel, Europe, Korea. We also have a investment in Hong Kong, in a Chinese company that's headquartered in Hong Kong. So again, just we are now expanding worldwide.
Impressive. And in your case, Naoki, that's even more challenging, right? So how do you ended up being able to convince the corporate in Japan to, come invest in your company that's located in the UK?
So actually, so as I told you, so we manage 7 different corporate venture capital funds, and each fund has actually our model is one GP, one LP structure. So each fund has one single LP, and so we are taking care of our financial side, and each corporate is taking care of this strategic return side, and we work on daily basis. So then, of course, many Japanese corporations also are first looking into Silicon Valley startups. But of course, it's good, but Silicon Valley is not only the place, right, for startup innovation and so on. Then we started looking into Israel and Europe. Then, so actually there are a bunch of interesting startups here, and price-wise a bit more reasonable. And, so that's why we started kind of trying to invest in those startups, and we had a kind of early success. Then now we could convince those corporates to looking into Europe and Israel as well.
So very interesting, right? Because your funds are not with the headquarters. So how do you communicate to them? How often do you communicate to them, and how do you navigate around the fact that the corporate is on one side of the world, the office is on the other side of the world? How much interaction do you get from the corporate? Is the decision making driven by the corporate, or is it like from the local team situated in US and in UK, for example?
So at this moment, decision making is done all in Tokyo. So that's why sometimes I need to wake up in late night and so on. But so we communicate with actually in Global Brain. So we have a dedicated team for each CVC funds. So then those guys communicate with each CVC almost on daily basis, and so then corporate side also they set up a CVC team, of course, but a bit smaller than you guys, I think, because they can use us as well. So then, so always when we do our decision making, first we need to go through our corporate side, and then we need to check whether they see our strategic values. Not necessarily now, maybe long term in the future or something like that. Then if they say yes, then we will take care of our financial side, and then if both parties agree, then we invest. So that's how it works.
I see. So your investment committees also involve the corporate LP or the investment committees.
Yeah. So actually, a separate committee, but yeah.
I see. What about LG Tech Ventures, Dong-Soo? Are you investing for strategic purpose, or are you focusing on financial return? How do you manage that?
So by design, we look for both strategic and financial returns. I'm a firm believer that you really have to try to invest with financial objectives in mind. Otherwise, you cannot get good strategic value by investing in companies that are failing. So our first priority is to make sure that the investment itself will provide a strong financial return. And of course, I mean, because the money does come from LG, we do also need to take the strategic rationale into consideration. But when we're setting it up, well, we purposely set it in a way that we do not need to have the strategic fit at the time of the investment. If we can foresee some strategic relationship down the road, then we can preemptively invest now, see how the company develops, and then at the right time try to bring the company together with our business units and R&D centers to try to create synergies.
And when you talk about creating synergies, right? Given that there's a geographical separation between the team in the US and the corporate mothership, how early do you involve the corporate into the process? Are they sitting on the investment committees to get the deal flow, or or do you have a dedicated post-deal management team to bring the startup to pitch the corporation and things like that? How do you find the best model to bring the real tangible strategic value from the portfolio company back to the corporation?
So I guess it comes in multiple stages, but at the time when we are considering the investment, early on we try to get our business units or R&D centers involved, so they can provide us comments on the technology and also potential strategic fit. Once we get the endorsement from them, then afterwards LG Tech Ventures takes over, and we structure the deal, negotiate, determine, do the financial due diligence and legal due diligence, and the investment committee is all within the firm. So the managing is really the managing directors of LG Tech Ventures and myself, who are in the investment committee to make the final decision to invest. After investment, we do have the business development team who helps our portfolio to get connected with the right people within LG. So the business development people do come from different LG business units. So they have a relationship and understand who's looking for what. So again, and timing is always an important issue. You don't want to introduce a company when it's too early, when they're not ready to engage with the business unit. I think that's a mistake that sometimes CVC units make is you introduce a company too early, they're not ready to collaborate, and then the business unit or R&D center people think, oh, this company is not good, and then it's really hard to change their perception once they decide that the company is not interesting. So it's so we try to also provide some advice to the startups on how to approach them, and also if even after the initial discussion, that sometimes there are some miscommunication between the company and the startup, and we try to sometimes mediate between the two parties. At the end, we're just try to create synergies between the two and then help our portfolio company grow.
Excellent. And do you set the objective upfront that you are investing in order to acquire the company later, some sort of things like that? Or does it come into the picture that, oh, when it's the time to make a decision for the follow-on, the company must have achieved some certain collaboration with the corporation in order to get to the next step of the collaboration? Is there a purpose specifically for that?
Yeah, so we always leave the potential to acquire the company down the road, but that's not a requirement. We do not invest because we want to acquire. So we just try to find just the best companies with great technologies, invest first, and if the timing is right and if everything aligned, then we'll help them get connected with the right people, and then we'll just step out of the way, so the acquiring party, which is our business unit, would just directly talk to the company. But I think it's really hard to structure a deal where you think you can get the sole right to acquire the company. I mean, that's not good for the company, and it's also just not good for your own reputation also, because other investors want the option of the company being acquired by just anybody out there in the market.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing those points. How about you, Naoki? You have 7 different LPs. When they approach Global Brain, what are their intent? Are they like focusing on strategics? Are they focusing on the returns? Why do they need, the external fund manager when they also have their own, headquarter office?
Yeah, so some of these our CVC partners actually did their own venture investment previously, but at that time they found out so they need to seek both financial returns as well as strategic returns to be included in the venture ecosystem. And also without a financial return mindset, it's very hard to select a good corporate startups and so on. That's why they started partnering with us, and we had great success with these early partners. Then with those, then we are convincing other corporates to join. So that's why, so both those ones are always we are taking of. Then, yeah. So when we approach startups, so in our case, it's kind of easier than Donsu case, I think, because we are two separate entities. And so Global Brain itself is kind of acting as a pure VC, venture capital. Then on top of this, we are kind of adding a strategic help and support from this corporate. And so when those corporate work with startup, it's kind of their responsibility. Of course, we could push, but then internally they need to discuss with their business units. But then this kind of activity could be done separately from our normal kind of portfolio management and advising startups, this kind of activities. So the roles are kind of separated. So that's our model.
Thank you for sharing. I think we use sort of a combined approach as well. We have our own CVC unit, but at the same time, we also invest indirectly into funds so that they can give us the expertise, the pre-screen deal flow and things like that. And we have partnered with 3 funds in the past, Pangea Ventures, Emerald Ventures, and Builders, and we learned a lot from them. We were able to send our analysts from the home headquarters to get secondment agreement and get trained by the VC. So it's extremely powerful. So turning around, now we know how you communicate with the corporate. What about when you communicate with startups? What do you think is the key message that you want to convey, that why they should choose the CVC coming from Asia rather than taking money from someone else?
Okay, let me take a crack at that. Obviously, I mean, as depends on the company, of course, right? I mean, there are enough startups who can just do their own business here locally in the United States or what so forth, but there are enough companies whose building a strategic relationship with corporates in Asia could help, especially if you are building building a hardware or if you want to expand your reach to Asia. Then having a partner who has a large presence in Asia can really help. So it's really case by case basis. But if you discuss with the startups and try to understand what they achieve, and if there's a fit, then having a corporate on your side can be a huge asset.
Excellent. How about Global Brain, Naoki?
Yeah, so actually I agree with Donsu. So Asia is, of course, now growing rapidly. So then definitely these markets should be attractive for, I would say, Western startups and so on. Then previously, those Asian corporates didn't have a kind of venture VC mindset, I think. But now, so like you guys, so we are acting as a VC as well as a CVC. So that's why from startups perspective, it's getting easier to communicate with us. And on top of this financial thing, of course, CVC can bring strategic values, which is very strong for startups to grow. So then that's why CVCs are kind of getting more attractive for startups, I think.
Thank you. Well, we are running out of time. Give us some crystal balls. The world has changed significantly in the past 12 months. What do you think LG would be focusing on this year?
This year, we are all about the biggest is EV related technology. So again, I mean, LG is one of the largest manufacturer of lithium-ion batteries for EVs. So everything related with battery materials or management systems and all that is really high priority for us.
Thank you. How about you, Naoki?
So actually, so now we have a different mandate for each fund, but so most of these CVCs are now interested in climate tech. Then in addition to AI, cloud, cyber, this kind of technologies and fintech, insurtech. So now I think this year we will be more looking into climate tech related startups. Yeah.
Excellent. I share the same view. I think with the new administrations, we're going to focus a lot more on decarbonization. I think that's very important for the industrial companies like ours, and also perhaps also want to unlock the power of biotech in creating a more sustainable materials for our consumer, for our societies. Wow, 20 minutes flew by so quickly. So as a wrap up, I really want to thank my panelists, Dongsu and Naoki, for sharing your invaluable insight today. I really learned a lot on how CVC from Asia can really support innovation, and how we got started, how we set up may be quite different, but I'm a strong believer that as long as you get started and keep moving forward, I think you can return the strategic value to your corporation and the CVC and VC community. And with that, I want to thank GCV for having us today and bringing us together again, even as virtually. I cannot wait to see you all in person. Thank you very much. And back to you, Tim.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much, Tina, Dongsu, and Naoki. It's as I'm heading up GCV's Asia focus, that was a session of particular interest to me. So it just remains for me to say a few words to sort of wrap up. And I'm only going to be here 5 minutes, but I'm going to tell you what's coming up with GCV for the rest of this year. So if you want to put some dates in your diary, if you can just stick around for 5 more minutes, I'll give you that information. The events come to an end now, but if you haven't been able to dial into all the sessions, and actually we've had a week-long festival of corporate venturing, you can view the recordings. If you come back into the platform, I suggest you leave it a couple of days, maybe come back on Monday when we'll be sure to have uploaded all the recordings. If you go back in and on schedule, if you click down on the right, there's a near top right, there's a box saying past content, and if you tick that box, all the previous sessions will come up and you can watch the recordings. So before I talk about what GCV's up to for the rest of the year, a few well-deserved thank yous are in order. Our sponsors, we couldn't do it without our sponsors, Mac49, Proseeder, Set Squared, Clarity, Denton's, Fenwick & West, Morgan Lewis, Bocchius, Silicon Valley Bank, TDK Ventures, Brown Rudnick, Henkel Technology Ventures, Nationwide Ventures, University of California, and the EBRD. Thank you to all of them, not just for the financial support, which of course is very useful and valuable, especially at the moment, but also for the input that they make. They're all thought leaders, they're all well connected, and they bring a wealth of knowledge and really enhance the program. I'd also like to thank some of my colleagues. Obviously, putting on an event like this requires a big team effort, and actually almost as much work as doing a conference, where we meet in person. James Gunnell joined us as managing director about a year ago, and he had been running all the FT, Financial Times' events, like 200 events a year, and really got thrown into the deep end because COVID arrived, and we had to move very quickly from traditional conferences to the digital world, and he's done a fantastic job helping us to navigate through that. Petra Johansson, who's the person really that makes the trains run on time today. Christina Riboldi, who, if you're a speaker, you will almost certainly know because she corrals all the speakers and the content, and is a force to be reckoned with always, and is the driving force behind our conference in Monterey, which I'll talk about in a minute. Dan Stevens, our head of marketing. Dan has got his fingerprints all over the eagle eye. Amongst you will notice we've got a new logo and a new look. Dan's been heavily involved in that and much more about marketing this. Hannah Bays-Brown did all the work on the GCV Connect. If you had a chance to look into that, I'd strongly encourage you to see all the startups that are in that platform now, powered by Proseeder. Janice Mawson, who ran all of our member-only sessions this past week, and Jim Mawson, no relation to Janice, who is our founder and editor-in-chief, and you'll probably have seen him on stage today and is a driving force behind all of this. Felix Dew, who did all the registration work, and he's sheltering from COVID back in New Zealand at the moment, so he doesn't quite know whether to get up or go to bed right now. And Kaloyan Andanov, who is our guru on data, and you would have seen hopefully his presentation on data earlier today. I'd also like to thank the team at Event.video, Ralph and Liam and team, who do all the live streaming and made sure that went seamlessly, and the Brella platform that you've all been using. The second time we've used that. We'd love your feedback about that and anything else from this week. We'll be sending you a survey link shortly, so do give us your feedback so we can carry on learning and improving. So what we've got coming up, the first three things on this list are continue to be digital events for obvious reasons. If you didn't see the GCV Institute session earlier, there is a webinar there. Hopefully you can remember that URL quite easily. No, I'm just kidding. You might want to screenshot this page, but we'll be sending you an email about it. Anyway, I think that link's not quite live yet, so just leave that one till it's ready to go. But we'll be talking about this institute, which is professional development programs for CVCs or anyone working with CVCs. So do check that out on the 10th of February. On the 17th of February, we'll have pitch events around the services sector, and we'll be doing pitch events actually every month with Procedure. More information to that on that will follow. We're also offering corporations the chance to put forward challenges to which startups can submit solutions. We've got a couple running at the moment, one from Japanese conglomerate Tesco, and another one from Sabic. So if you've got challenges, or you've got portfolio companies, for example, that you think have suitable solutions, then please do take a look at those. We've got a regional UK event in the north of England looking at innovation there, partnering with another organisation, which is the Go Further Index event. And then our flagship US event in Monterey, which normally is at the end of January. I think we certainly missed it. I know a number of you have said you really missed it, but we'll be roaring back, hopefully, COVID permitting, the end of September in Monterey. We have a delegation to China in partnership with Accenture Ventures. We haven't yet pinned down a date for that because of COVID. It was supposed to be September last year, so we've moved it to this year. We've got the symposium in London, which was due to be its 10th anniversary year in June this year. We've moved it to November, probably the beginning of November. We're just pinning down a venue at the moment in London. And our Asia event, we're going back to Tokyo. Sony Innovation Fund is kindly hosting us at their headquarters in Tokyo, and we've got a week of ecosystem visits and such like in Tokyo. So those websites, I put the URLs there, but they won't be up to date yet. But do check back, and they'll be updated quite regularly over the next few weeks. So it just remains, normally at this point, I say safe journey home. Most of you are already at home, I suspect. So, you know, mind how you go on the stairs. Do stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next GCV event. Take care. Bye.